Jin. A tray of sushi in a chilled cabinet is one of the few foods sold almost entirely on a promise about time. Fresh, made today, eat by tonight. And yet the thing sitting on that shelf is the endpoint of a chain that stretches across oceans, cold rooms, auction floors, and freight schedules that no label ever mentions. The contradiction at the center of this episode is simple. A dish whose entire appeal is immediacy became a global industry that depends on distance. This episode has a narrower question than you might expect, and an honest one. What does the documented record actually let us say about how sushi turned into a supply chain? Because the answer we can defend is not a sweeping origin story, it is a single business document, and what it quietly reveals about a system that was already running. Start with the promise sushi makes to a customer, because that promise sets every constraint that follows. Raw fish on rice is a food with almost no buffer. There is no long shelf life to hide behind, no baking step, no fermentation window built into a supermarket tray. That means every actor in the chain, from the vessel to the counter, is solving the same problem in a different form. Temperature, handling, hours. Note that this is not a claim about any particular company or country. It is the physical logic of the product itself. When a food cannot wait, the business around it has to be engineered around waiting as the enemy. Whoever controls cold and whoever controls speed controls the margin. Hold that idea, because it explains why sushi could not simply spread the way a dried or canned food spreads. Here is where I need to be direct about the limits of the evidence in front of me. The source material for this episode is thin. It is a single institutional entry describing one company. That means the popular narrative you may already carry, the one about ancient preservation methods, the rise of a street food, the post-war boom, the invention of long-haul chilled freight, cannot be asserted here as verified fact. Those accounts exist, they are widely repeated. But repetition is not documentation, and this episode will not dress up a familiar story as a proven one. So the method changes. Instead of narrating a chain we cannot see, we read a single surviving artifact the way an investigator reads a receipt. What had to already be true for this document to exist? The first instinct is to treat one company as too small to matter. A single restaurant business cannot explain a global system. That objection is fair, and it is worth taking seriously rather than waving away. One firm is not a trend. One founding date is not an industrial turning point. But documents carry more than their headline. A business record contains the assumptions of its moment. It tells you what a company thought was worth saying about itself, which means it tells you what customers were already asking, what competitors were already doing, and what problems were already visible enough to build a brand around. A single artifact cannot prove a system. It can, however, prove that a system existed to be responded to. That distinction is the entire engine of this episode. Feng Sushi is a British restaurant chain, founded in 1999, and the record describes it as known for advocating sustainable fish farming. Its founder is named as the chef Silla Bjerrum, alongside a second chef whose name is cut off in the material available. Read that plainly and it looks like an ordinary company summary. Read it as evidence and something sharper appears. A restaurant chain in Britain at the end of the 1990s built part of its public identity around where its fish came from and how that fish was raised. Sustainability is not a founding concern for a business with a short, visible local supply line. You do not campaign about sourcing when the source is standing in front of you. Advocacy of that kind is a response. It appears when supply has already become long, industrial, and hard for a customer to inspect. That single line in a company description is a fingerprint left by a system that was already global before the sign went up. So what is the mechanism, stated at the level the evidence supports? Sushi did not go global because a dish traveled. It went global because a sourcing problem was solved by other people, and restaurants then built businesses on top of that solution. The word chain in that company description is doing real work. A chain means more than one site. More than one site means standardized supply, repeatable specifications, and volumes a single fishmonger relationship cannot carry. Once a menu has to look the same in several places on the same day, the kitchen stops being the center of the operation. Procurement becomes the center. That is the quiet inversion behind almost every familiar food that turned into a system. The visible craft stays at the counter. The decisive engineering moves upstream, into contracts, farms, and logistics the diner never sees. The cost of that inversion is where sustainability enters, and it is worth being precise about what the record says. The document ties this company to advocating sustainable fish farming. Farming, specifically. That word points at a trade-off rather than a solution. Farmed supply offers what an industrial chain needs most, which is predictability, volume, and scheduling. Wild capture cannot be ordered like a component. But moving from catching to raising does not remove pressure from the ocean. It relocates it into feed, into sighting, into water, into the economics of who can afford to farm at scale. I am not going to assign numbers to that pressure because this evidence base does not contain them. What the evidence does support is the shape of the choice. By 1999, a restaurant business could treat fish sourcing as a public position. That only happens when the alternative has become something a customer might object to. Now the counterpoint, because the honest version of this story has an unresolved middle. Advocacy is a claim, not an audit. A company described as known for advocating a practice is documented as making that argument publicly. It is not, by that fact alone, verified as having met any particular standard, and the material here contains no assessment of outcomes. There is also a real possibility this company was unusual rather than representative, an early voice rather than an industry norm. One entry cannot settle that. And the biggest gaps stay open. We do not have, in this pack, the freight history, the auction records, the farm data, or the trade volumes that would let anyone date the turning point precisely. Anyone who tells you the exact year sushi became a supply chain is reaching past the evidence. What survives all that hedging is still substantial. Sushi today reaches customers through chains, and a chain is a procurement system wearing a chef's uniform. The record for this one British company, founded in 1999 by a chef, shows the two halves of that system already fused. Culinary identity at the front, a sourcing argument at the back. Both were part of the pitch from the beginning, which tells you the industrial phase was not something that arrived later and spoiled a pure tradition. It was already the ground the business was built on. When a foods marketing starts talking about where the ingredients were raised, the interesting story has already moved offshore. The counter is the last few feet of something much longer. The consequence is this: the visible part of sushi, the knife work and the cabinet, and the eat-by date is the part most easily mistaken for the whole industry. The decisive part is upstream, in farms and contracts and cold logistics, and it becomes visible to customers mainly through arguments about sustainability. That is why one line in a company record from 1999 is worth this much attention. Not because a single restaurant chain reshaped the ocean, but because businesses only advertise a solution to a problem the system has already created. The freshness is real. The proximity it implies is not. Visual reconstructions are illustrative. Facts and interpretations are based on the sources listed in the description.